Cheers. It's time to reveal the meaning of S.T.A.T.E, S-T-A.T.E, the 5 pillars of effective axemanship, at least as I've conceived it so far. I consider this a work in progress, and I'd like to kind of think of this as this whole video series and even the whole concept and the acronym as a beta version. So with input from other people and just whatever kind of experience accumulates, I'm definitely willing and interested in revising the whole thing. That could mean revising the acronym. It could just mean reshooting the video series to include stuff I forgot or just make it more effective. Anything like that. Then again, maybe it'll just turn out great the way it is and be just fine. So I asked you guys to guess what the acronym meant, S-T-A-T-E, and between all of you, you definitely got everything. Sometimes they were different words, but you know, between everyone, you definitely got them all. I don't remember anyone getting all of them in one comment, but some people were close. Definitely some people got 4 of them. And the reason I did that, besides I just think it's a good idea for people to think a lot, and so I'm just generally in favor of that, as you may have noticed. I really wanted to see if you guys would think of anything that I didn't think of. And the only thing that I had either skimmed over or just not thought of, I don't remember, was strength or conditioning, which I would probably call fitness because that kind of covers strength and conditioning. So I thought about that one a lot, and I think I'm going to leave it out. I mean, I always try to downplay that factor because I think it's overplayed too much. Like, people think it's too much of a factor. I know I watched one popular YouTuber do a video actually demonstrating pretty horrible axemanship and saying, you know, how important it was that you're in really good shape to be able to do this. Well, yeah, if you're bad at it, it takes a huge amount of energy, and that's the whole point of this whole series and this approach, is to whittle down the amount of energy and time it takes to process wood with an axe. So kind of, I guess, for political reasons, I'm always trying to downplay that factor. The other thing about it is that it's, what do I say about it? You know, I mean, all I can say is that at a certain level of unfitness, it's going to be a major problem. And if you're very fit, I mean, certainly that's going to contribute and could be considered an important factor in effective axemanship. But again, what do I say about it? I mean, it's kind of self-regulating. So if you actually go use an axe, it's kind of gonna improve itself. Like, you're gonna become stronger, and yeah, the conditioning you need just for that kind of work. And otherwise, yeah, there's just really not that much to say about it. The meaning of the other 5 are strategy, tool, accuracy, technique, and efficiency. So we're gonna go through each one of those. I'm going to do a video on each one of them. Some of those videos will be pretty damn long, and some of them will be a lot shorter. And some of them could be expanded infinitely, like tool. I mean, and the reason I didn't say axe is because it's just too simplistic. Everyone's going to think, duh, of course you need an axe. But if I say tool, that makes you think more about what kind of tool. Oh, it's an axe, and like what condition is it in, what shape is it, how heavy is it, and all that stuff. But obviously that could be expanded into volumes and endless debate. So let's go through these one at a time. Strategy. The importance of strategy just can't be overstated, really. It just would be impossible to overstate the importance of it. It's like a map. So imagine you want to get from point A to point B. In this case, you want to get from the outside of the log to the inside of the log. Or if you're driving somewhere, you're at your house and you want to get to this point. If we're talking about efficient or effective practical axe work here, right? We're not talking about a meandering Sunday drive. So if you're going to go from point A to point B, you know, you ask someone or you get a map, you plan a route that's going to be like the shortest route, the shortest, fastest route, and then you go there. So think of strategy as that. And there's strategies for, and again, this can just keep expanding outward, but there's basic strategies for felling, for limbing, for bucking, and for splitting, all of which are very important. And we're not going to go into huge detail on any of those things. Or like, for instance, felling could be, I mean, we're going to concentrate on kind of like the cuts and the basic geometry to get a tree dropped onto the ground. But, you know, you could go on from there to develop strategies to get a tree to fall in a certain direction, for instance. But we're just going to cover really basic strategies that largely concentrate on geometry. So next is the tool, and again, this could be, volumes and volumes could be written on axes, and endless debates could happen. But what I'm thinking is that I just want to rein the subject in to a set of kind of parameters where I'm going to say, look, outside of these parameters, you're probably going to be pretty ineffective. And this is very important. It's important to have a well-functioning, well-tuned tool. But there's a lot of different things that people do at different parts of the world, and different shapes of axes and different grinds and stuff like that, all of which can be effective. So you have a broad range of possibilities, but I'm just going to do my best to narrow it down to some important points, like say, if your axe bit is too blunt, then you're going to have a problem, or if it's way too heavy or something like that. Next is accuracy. Without accuracy, you can't really execute your strategy. So accuracy is extremely important. It's something to work on, and it's something that's hard won. It's more hard won for some people than others. There's always people who are more coordinated at learning new things than other people, but regardless, it's just going to take time put in. But I really do believe that with intent and a little bit of thought and some basic instruction or ideas, that you can improve your accuracy quite a bit faster than just kind of starting to chop a lot and not really thinking about it and just kind of letting it happen. It will happen eventually, but I think it'll happen faster with intent and a little bit of information. So next is technique, and you could say that accuracy and efficiency come largely from technique, but the problem is that words they aren't things. Words aren't things. They're crude attempts at making symbols that represent the real world. So there's always a frustration there of where I can't find the perfect word that every person is going to interpret the same way and know exactly what I mean. It just doesn't work that way. Really kind of the physical things you do, the mechanics of how you chop, that make the axe cut effectively. So that's separate from accuracy, and it's separate from strategy. It's like how you're using your body to make the axe actually cut, not hit the spot you're trying to hit, but actually make it cut. So the main thing we're going to be talking about there is the generation of velocity, or chopping power, mass plus speed equals power kind of a equation. But there's other things that could fall under that, and I'm not even sure I know all of them or understand all of them. But for instance, like instead of just chopping into a piece of wood, you can pull your cuts and add a slicing action. So that means that some of the energy that's coming in is used in a different way. Another one might be like you can give your axe a little pop in the cut to throw chips out, things like that. So that's the stuff that falls under technique to me. And finally, efficiency. And this could also be called economy. And I was tempted to call it economy, and I'm still a little bit on the fence about that, but I think efficiency is probably going to be better. The problem with efficiency as a word is that it could be interpreted differently. But what I'm talking about is the economy of motion, economy of energy. Like how much energy are you expending for how much work you're getting done? When you're applying that technique to get the axe to cut effectively, any number of people could do that same amount of work using different amounts of energy. And the goal is basically to slowly whittle and shrink that amount of energy for that given amount of work down to as small as possible. So that's what I mean when I say efficiency. So I hope to get this series done pretty quickly. I would really like to have it out more frequently than every Axe Wednesday, just because I feel like I want it out there. But honestly, just this video, for people who are already chopping, I think that just this video and this short, quick discussion without any real technique or anything could actually help people a little bit just to start thinking about bringing these 5 things together. Yeah, it's the coming together of all of these things, as far as I can figure. Okay, like I said, this is a work in progress, and I don't know. I just think about this stuff when I'm out in the woods and just all the time. This is what goes on in my head all the time, and at some point, these 5 points kind of gelled out of my thoughts and came together, and I was like, okay, well, there's something here that I could package and that might help people accelerate their efficiency or effectiveness with an axe. And it really, as far as I can tell, it's really those 5 things. And of course, we've already talked about fitness and that as a factor, and that's certainly an important factor. So when you hear Morris Kahansky in his video on axe use and safety, it's kind of like a little interview class he's giving. And he says, how long do you think it would take me to chop down a 12-inch diameter tree, limb it, and cut it, buck it with an axe into arm length sections, which is about, 6 feet. And he's like 10 to 15 minutes. And you're like, what? How is that possible? Well, this is how it's possible. Combined with the practice required to get that accuracy and to whittle down that efficiency and to make every single blow count, and the experience to have your axe tuned to the point where it works really, really well. And that's not me, and it's not probably anyone else watching this video. That's Morris Kahansky at his, in his prime, with tons of practice and in excellent condition. But the way I see it is these are the reasons why, and these are the things that we need to work on to increase our effectiveness and overall efficiency in processing wood in the woods. In a really practical sense, like getting through a lot of wood quickly. So it's a little bit daunting for me to launch into a video series that's planned ahead but that I haven't shot, because I don't really know what's going to happen. If I didn't think that I had something to offer and basically knew more or less how I wanted to present it, then, I wouldn't do it. But, it's still a little bit daunting, so we'll see how it turns out. Again, I'd like to think of this as a work in progress. I look forward to feedback from all levels of users. Anything from presentation to things that were missed or things that are superfluous. You know what I mean. Unnecessary. And maybe there will be a version 2.0 of this whole series. I could reshoot the whole series, we could change the acronym, whatever works. I mean, the point is to make something that's going to help people the most. So I'm actually pretty into this series. When I was finishing up the Cordwood Challenge last year, my own Cordwood Challenge, having challenged myself to cut a cord of wood, and I think I was finishing it up, and I was like, yeah, for sure, I should get other people to do this. That would be really cool to do a cordwood challenge and try to talk people into cutting a quantity of wood with an axe, because it was so much fun and so edifying for me to do it that I just thought, this is a great idea. I should get other people to do it. And that's really proving to be the case. It's going really well, even though only a few people are doing it. I think it's going to have a pretty big impact, actually. Anyway, at the time I was like, okay, well, where do I send beginners, like new people, for information that want to learn how to use an axe? And so I came up with the 2 books, Dudley Cook's The Axe Book and Morris Kahansky's Bushcraft, and those are great, but they have certain limitations as being books. But when I looked online for stuff to send people to how to use an axe, basically, like axe use and safety, effective axe use and safety, I was fairly appalled at how little there was, and especially compared to how much internet axe content there was. I mean, there's just like tons and tons and tons of axe reviews, axe restoration, and stuff on collecting axes and theory and all this stuff. And there just wasn't anyone saying, hey, this is, like a really well thought out series or something on how to effectively use an axe. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do it. Like I was thinking, damn, like that's a tall order. It's a big responsibility to take that on, and I don't feel qualified to do it. But over time, over the last, I guess it's been about a year, just thinking about it a lot, doing a lot more chopping, I feel more confident that I may not be like the most qualified person and the person that could do it the best, but that I do have stuff to offer that I think is going to help at least beginning axe users improve much more quickly and foresee some mistakes that are real common. And that's the point. So yeah, look forward to those coming out soon. Hopefully they'll get done quick. I hope at least within the next month, if not much sooner. All right. Good night.